Exclusive interviews with policymakers.
Yes, so tell me more about what they're doing on Tasplary, because still there are women out there who are solely dependent on fishing and they cannot fish anymore.
Okay, you're actually talking to a riversman from Ogoniland. That's actually where I'm from.
Recap with me, Mitchelle, on Mondays 4:30 p.m. and Wednesdays 5 p.m. on Lagos Talks 91.3. Join the conversation.
This is the recap on Lagos Talks 91.3.
All right. Welcome to the recap on Lagos Talks 91.3. It is 5 o'clock. My name is Mitchelle, Agoh. And on the recap today, we have an exclusive interview with the presidential candidates, of the 2023 presidential elections. He's right here in the studio, and he represents the AAC party. He needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. He is Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for bringing me, and Happy New Year to your listeners and our people out there.
It's a pleasure to have you join us today to discuss your plans for Nigeria should you emerge president. But I'd also like us to take a look at what the election of this particular year promises for Nigerians. You are someone who is not just a presidential candidate, but you're also a human rights activist. You've always been a forerunner or in the front of creating conversations and buzz and trying to get the attention of governments to fix things, to value human rights, to put human rights first, to take care of education, raise awareness for the youth. You joined different causes, from NSAS to the ASU strike. I saw you when you addressed some of the students sometime this year that were protesting at the airport. It's not really, you're never really far away from conversations that have to do with change making. And that's why you're a very interesting personality today amongst many others that are currently running for office in 2023. This is not the first time you're running for office. This is actually the second time. I believe your first time was in 2019.
That's correct.
What is different this time? What are you doing differently to win the elections?
Well, it's important to let people know that elections come and go. And people who are interested in change, social progress and development, democratic expansion, don't go away. And that's what the situation has been with me for some 30 years now, when I started in the university. And what is different this time for us is something that is very urgent and might turn tragic if we don't fix our trajectory, our movement, because the path to making Nigeria work, the path to continuing the country called Nigeria, depend largely on the 2023 election. I know we hear this in all election cycles, but this is more interesting because this is a critical junction in the future of in planning the future of a united Nigeria, and this is a critical junction in restoring hope and belief in democracy for a majority of our people. Because a lot of people have lost hope in this thing called democracy because it hasn't delivered the dividends that has been promised to them year in, year out over these years. So what is different for us is that, look, in all the elections we've been having, it's been about just general, institutional promises. But this particular election is going to deal with foundational issues, and that's how the foundation of Nigeria started and how it will continue going forward. That is why it is very, very germane, very important, and we're speaking to a lot of people out there now that they make the right decision. And making the right decision is not about emotions, it's not about primordial sentiments, it's about taking a very hard look at Nigeria, the leadership in all these years, and deciding whether we want to continue in the same way or not. And that's why our tagline is we can't continue like this. We've reached that turning point. It's either we turn back in the right direction or we tip over. Yes.
Now, that's very interesting, the fact that you recognize the issues that we face as a nation. How prepared are you to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Even though I haven't had an ambition to be president, I think I was prepared since I was yes, because my presidency, if you like to call it, started as a child. I'm the first child of my father, and my father ended up having 20 kids before he died, and we're about 15 left. Of course, a lot of people fell off our family wagon over the years due to circumstances that Nigeria is known for. So I started leading the household when I was 12 years old. At 9 years old, actually, I was fishing on behalf of the family. I was fishing and going to school at the same time. So I've always had that leadership trait. When I got to primary school, I was a class captain. Secondary school, very prominent student on campus, leading, human rights causes on campus, challenging teachers, particularly my principal in those days who loved to flog people. But when I got to the university, real leadership started when I met some very wonderful individuals, people like Gani Fawemi, Femi Falana in particular, with John Sylvester, Shegun Mayegun, Aturu Bamidele, and several others who were student activists at that time, confronting dictatorship in Nigeria.
No, it's been quite a journey since
It's
then.
just been that. So I'm giving you this background, because you have to keep saying it, that so that the generation that is out there now can understand that I didn't start activism in 2019 when I came to run for presidency. That I started quite early, and I'd always taken on very powerful causes, some of them life-threatening causes, and that's how we have been doing. And one of the biggest for me was being part of the movement that chased out the military from the political scene in Nigeria. And by 1999, that assignment was done, and I left the country I traveled to the U.S. and stayed over 20 years in the U.S., doing several other things, including acquiring a master's degree, setting up Sahara Reporters, and engaging in a number of activities and causes as well. Surely I was part of the environmental movement. I was part of net neutrality movement, which was a movement that was devoted to ensuring that the internet was not cornered by rich people. The part of the reason why you and I are doing well today in the air is because the internet circuit is democratized to a large extent. Everybody can just jump on the internet today and become a big deal.
All right.
Yes.
Moving forward to 2019, you founded the AAC party.
That's correct.
Why did you why did you create or form a new party, knowing that we had existing parties like the PDP? I believe in 2019, the APC was already in full function, with them leading the nation at the top level and many other states. Why did you go ahead to form a new party, and what was your intention for that?
So, two reasons. Okay. One was that I looked at the two major political parties at that point, and I saw that we have irreconcilable differences, and ideological in particular. There's no way my conscience will allow me to join any of those two parties as of 2018 when I arrived the scene. The second aspect, at that point there were 79 political parties, and I think I approached about 20 of them and discovered that they do not have accommodation for people with my type of radical idealism.
What is your type of ideology?
Well,
what does the AAC stand for?
The AAC stands for a total reformation of Nigeria. What we regularly refer to as a revolutionary movement to change Nigeria. The others were interested in incremental change. Several others were not even interested in anything. They just existed for election cycles alone. And whenever the election comes, they sell their forms and they get candidates, and then they merge and re-emerge, and then they bug out until the next election cycle. So a lot of the parties also were affiliates or appendages of the major parties. So they create all these parties for different purposes. Some of them just for election litigation. And, it's like, oh, you want this election, I'll give you money. Go and challenge this particular issue around election. So, and it works. It works for them. It's transactional parties, I like to call them. So upon approaching about 20 of them, discovering that no one will accept us, we went on the ground and found out they were registering parties, and went and registered our party. And fortunately, we got the party registered, and it started existing since 2018, August 2018 to be precise.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
With all those leadership qualities, you did create a political party, which is very interesting to see. But would you consider yourself a servant?
Servant?
Yeah.
Well, I don't like the sound of servant because it shows subservience.
Does
Uh, well, a servant is someone who's under peonage, under the control of another person. I don't accept that as,
But if you're,
but
if you're voted for, you would want to serve the people.
yes, that's service, not as a servant.
Okay. Of the people.
Yes, I will be a serviceman, not a servant to
Of the
anybody.
people.
Of
Servant
people.
of the people.
Yes, because you have to be careful what you say on air these days because it'll be used against you in the future.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who like me to be a servant, but I'm not subservient. I'm a kind of person that doesn't accept those kind of labels. Yes.
You have a strong.
I'm very careful, and I'll say I'll use
But
the
if you're
word.
the servant of the people, I mean, that's not so bad for
The
leadership.
people are not looking for servants; they're looking for leaders.
Okay.
Yes. If a lot of people already have servants. They have it at home, they have it at work, which is in short supply in this country, anyways.
So what sets you apart from the others that are currently contesting for the same position as you are?
Right
How
now?
are you different?
Yes, I'm different ideologically. I'm different in terms of records. I have history. I have pedigree, and I could say that anywhere. And part of it is integrity, And just on the lighter side, I'm more handsome than a lot of them.
Are you? All right. Now, the AAC party, I believe, campaign clearly has begun with many other political parties. Have you gone around the country? What countries are you currently campaigning in at the moment?
No, we've been to a lot of states and cities in the country. See, what is different with us is that we are, in terms of innovation and campaigning, we are ahead.
Okay.
So, like in 2019, I traveled to 34 states across the country, several cities. Some places I went twice. So, by 2019 July, I had figured out what was wrong with Nigeria. That's why we started Revolution Now.
Okay.
And I got arrested after that. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that later. But on a serious note, though, having found out, in 2018 that the objective conditions of the country has not changed, we decided to adopt a different strategy this time in terms of campaigning. So, for instance, I discovered that when people go and gather people to campaign in large stadium, it's an echo chamber. Nobody can tell you what they're saying. They just bring in comedians, they bring in singers, and then they distribute uniform, some food, and money, and then everybody claps and walk around. If you ask them, what did they tell you? Most people don't even know why they went there, And we had this particular experience in Uyo, Akwa Ibom, I couldn't forget. We were in Uyo for a campaign in 2019, and as soon as we arrived town, some guys approached us. Oh, we've heard so much about you guys, and we said, yeah, we're here for it. He said, do you want a rally? We said, yes, why not? He said, well, we believe in you, but if you give us 10 million naira, we can get this number of people for your rally. And we said, no, we don't have that kind of money. They said, well, we're just coming from PDP's rally. Tomorrow, we are going to APC's rally. If you can wait one more day, we'll come for your own rally. So these are the same set of rally goers, commercial rally goers in Uyo who will go for any party who is in town for a fee. So we said, no, we don't do that. We're here to preach the gospel of development to you people. I want to talk to people. So we were shocked to discover that who do this for money, just attend rallies. That's what they do for the political. So we decided this time around that instead of lying about gathering people in the stadium, which somehow, in my view, is a mockery of their economic conditions because you are just monetizing their misery pretty much. Why don't we go and attend all these professional groups? And we ended up attending ICANN conferences. There were a lot of conferences of professional groups. And we discovered that those ones are actually very firm way of reaching out to people because they have families, they have workplace, they have homes, they have professional organizations, they have ethnic groups, they go to churches. And when they hear from you and they're convinced, they convince more people because they have the capacity to pass the message on to the populace than a rally, So
how receptive have the people been so far with the campaign?
it's been great because considering the kind of people we are contesting against. When I say kind of people, we're talking about former state governors who have spent 8 years. There's one candidate that has been in government since 1990. Kwakwanso, he was Minister of Defense. He's been a two-time senator. He's been two-time governor. So their pockets are very.
So they're career politicians.
The career politicians, and they're also loaded financially speaking. And we're up against them with nothing practically except ideas. And these ideas are percolating beyond, the size of their bank accounts and wealth, and that's very impressive. So we are among the top candidates in this. I should say top if we've said everything that needed to be said. We have a manifesto. We have ideas that people are familiar with. We have a name and the recognition that people understand can stand for them any day. Like I said earlier, I was a presidential candidate that ended the election in 2019 and didn't stop there. I never stopped campaigning. And you mentioned that. I participated in every struggle since 2019, since the last election. Of course, I participated in pretty much every struggle in this country in the last 30 years.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, with the elections drawing closer, some of your competitors are going around the country seeking for endorsements, seeking for blessings, seeking for approval, trying to get the consent of some elder statesmen as it relates to their goals and their dreams of becoming presidents. Many of them are going to the northern parts of the country, to the southwest, down to the east. Are you one of those people who do believe in endorsements from former presidents or past leaders or statesmen or influencers, people who can influence their councils and areas or regions? Do you think you need the support of these people to gain new voters base, gain new believers of the AAC party, or you think it's something you can do on your own?
No, we believe in the endorsement of the people because honestly, Nigeria has been overrating some of the so-called elder statesmen. That's one. But on a principled level, I cannot imagine myself going back to the same characters that ruined this country, that put us in the situation that we're in now, to say, oh, come and endorse me. Are you going to endorse me as a brand that will go back and continue your style of leadership? Definitely not. And most of them have only one vote. That's the truth. So if you go to the people, you are bypassing a whole lot of this overrated so-called elder statesmen. They don't have any constituency in reality because their constituency is not the poor because they're the ones who created the poverty in the first place. Their constituency is not the oppressed because they are the oppressors. Their constituency is a constituency of the people who are holding this country to ransom and who see Nigeria as a property that they own. And I reject that, and I've always rejected that. It's okay, you cannot ask me, for instance, to go back and seek the endorsement of Babangida, who I was one of the people that drove out of power in 1993. Like, how would I? It doesn't make sense. I was more powerful than him in 1993. Why would I go to him and beg for his endorsement in 2023, 30 years after we chased him out of power? Doesn't make sense. It's like you're engaging in reverse gear, whereas you should be moving forward. So I don't do that. I have respect for people. There are opinion leaders out there, but we reach them to understand that, look, this country needs to change. There are those who want the country to change. They know how to endorse. You don't have to have me come to your house and be rolling on the floor, or saying that you can hold my ear any time of the day. I'm not going to be a leader that will be genuflecting on the altars of fallen gods. Yes.
All right. So you care more about the endorsements of the people above everything else.
And that will happen on February the 25th, 2023.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, with your competitors so far, there are quite a lot of them. Of course, so many with other new political parties. Some are the existing parties that have been established all around the country. Do you see yourself in any way approving of any of the personalities so far that have made their intention known to be presidents, are you in support of any of them? Do you approve of any of them, or do you believe that you're absolutely the best candidate for the job?
Yes, I believe I'm the best candidate for the job. And I've spoken extensively about a lot of them. When you're campaigning, you're talking about your ideas, your manifesto, and what you're capable of doing. And you're also warning the public of records and pedigrees of your opponents. So I don't have any reason, therefore, to say, oh, I believe in something. I might believe in the person, because this is not war. If I go outside and we meet, we shake hands. It's just as we argue sometimes. I'm sure you've seen some of my videos challenging some of the candidates, whether you're a presidential candidate or you are a deputy or vice. If I see you doing what is wrong, I will say it publicly. I've fought them on sitting, in positions that I believe they don't belong to, or challenge them on their records publicly. I've done this in a lot of events, debates, joint events that we've been invited to. But I do not believe that they are fitter or better than myself to become the president of Nigeria. In fact, most of them are people who have been tested before and failed. And they are repackaging themselves to make it look like they have something new to offer. A lot of them are deflated tires. So if you're riding relying on them, you are on a destination to nowhere.
How structured is your party, the AAC party? Do you have members also vying for office in the Senate, in the House of Reps,
yes,
governors? How structured is your party across the 36
we
states?
have over 201 candidates running for different offices. Aside from not enough, because there were circumstances that confronted the party after I was detained. The party was hijacked, so we had to go to court and retrieve back the party. And we didn't get the party back until June the 2nd. And we had to quickly do primaries. So that's, still plenty of, candidates that would have participated on our platform. But what we have told people, and which is what everybody's talking about, is that the people who are desirous of freedom and liberation are the structures of our party. The other part is that this is the same party that has been fighting the government. When we called for revolution in 2019, over 26 states participated. The federal government had to spend almost 10 billion naira to stop that protest. So you can imagine the structures that are willing, capable, and courageous enough to face an aggressive state or regime. What is the election to them?
Do you think a personality and the party that it represents are one of the same, or do you think you can distinguish a personality from a party? I say that to ask you a question. Should you win the elections, would you be working with people from other political parties that you're currently opposing, or do you write them off as one of the same?
No, if the moment we win the election, everybody will be coming as representative of their own constituencies. We must work with them. We must find a way around, a balance. But what we will not do is to work with them against the people. Are you getting my point? So there was a news item yesterday in which President Buhari supposedly said that the National Assembly inserted 1.3 trillion naira in what they call budget padding into the budget. He couldn't explain it. Well, I won't be the president that is signing off on a budget that is padded. No, I won't do that because it will be against the people. I'd rather that money is taken out and given to us to solve, futuristic problems that is facing the education sector. So that's one area. I'm just giving that as an example. But if you are there for progress, we will work together. And we may have differences, but we can work around those differences and focus on the progress that we need for the people. That's what I am about. So I can work with anybody. I can sit down with anybody. I sit down with my enemies all the time in government, but they are all aware that it won't be on the basis of compromises that would not make life easy for
Even if Nigeria is due for a change,
Yes.
do you think Nigerians are ready to make that change in the 2023 February 25th elections?
Yes, I believe that Nigerians are always ready for a change because they are the ones calling for a change all the time.
And you think they're ready to be demonstrable about that change by?
Well, this is why we engage in a different kind of campaigning. It's not only to say, it's not only to listen to it and say we want change. It's also turn them into change agents. That you must demonstrate that you want this change you want. And the best way to do it peacefully and democratically is to vote for the right kind of persons. So that you don't come back 6 months after election that, oh, we need another kind of change because it's not what we voted for. That's why consciousness and education and conscientization is important. And you can conscientize people after elections. That's what we have done, and that's probably why people see us differently. That we're just different. A lot of the political elites are not comfortable with those kind of people like us because we are challenging the status quo ante. But it doesn't mean that the people are not ready for us. People have been ready for us since 1960. Yes.
All right, that's very interesting to hear. The people have been ready, and they're ready to make that change, and you're ready to be the leader to
Absolutely.
bring about that change.
Yes.
All right, so we're taking some calls soon. Remember, we're speaking with the AAC presidential candidates, 2023 presidential candidates of the African Action Congress. He has a radical agenda to pull Nigeria out of the doldrums and take Nigeria to a better place. His name is Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and he's right here with us in the studio. Remember to join the conversation. You can tweet at Lagos Talks 913. That is at Lagos Talks 913. Use the hashtag The Recap. You can also call the phone lines as well and drop us a message on WhatsApp 0809 234 5913. That is 0809 234 5913. The phone lines are 0809 1913 913, 0809 222 0913. It's been 7 years and counting since President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
What has been your experience so far? What are some of the highlights of his administration?
I think if there's anyone in Nigeria who could talk about having a terrible experience with the Buhari regime, it would be me. I'll be one of the major actors in this dispensation. And I can tell you categorically that it has been a terrible experience all through, not just for me, but the people of Nigeria. It's been harrowing. That's the best way to put this appropriately. And I don't know anybody who would disagree with that except cronies of the regime who are benefiting from the terrible situation that the country has found itself. And you have evidence to show for this. You have the regime turning Nigeria to the poverty capital of the world. It became a major statistical disaster over the years. Terrorism, banditry, an economic disastrous era. I think we've been through almost 3 depressions economically. The value of the naira, went from something manageable to a toilet paper. That's the way I can describe this. Schools are closed for 9 months at a time. I'm talking about higher institutions. And this happened also in the midst of, a global tragedy of immense proportion. That was COVID. So we don't really know. We're not going to know how bad things are until the regime is gone.
Wow.
Yes.
So you have no highlights, no positives, no positive experience so far from the past 7 years in counting?
If you do, you can tell me, but I don't.
Absolutely not.
No.
Not even from the, some of the bills that were passed, like the PIA, some of the bills, the Electoral Act, which I believe will, be beneficial to you.
No, the Electoral Act, you see every 4 years, every election cycle, there's almost an act every 4 years. And it does the same thing. It keeps people hoping for the best, and then the worst happens. And then they'll go back and create another Electoral Act. So what we know is that elections don't happen because of Electoral Acts, but in spite of Electoral Acts. It's still going to be people with integrity and dignity and honesty that conduct free and fair elections. But the act doesn't. It's people that will do that. Because the regime, as you know it, is largely a lawless regime. It doesn't even act upon its laws. It doesn't accept decision of its courts if it doesn't favor the regime. It's hopeless. Yes.
Let's go to the phone lines now. As you know, it's a phone-in program, and of course, we'd like to hear from our listeners that have been listening across the world. We have Omoyele Sowore right here in the studio, and you can join the conversation, but remember to keep it simple. No name calling, no character assassination. Just go straight to the point with your questions or contributions, and just join the conversation. 015150913, 015150913, or 0809 1913 913, 0809 222 0913. Lagos Talks.
Hello, good
evening.
evening.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Rona Boy. I'm calling from DI.
All right, join the conversation.
I agree with your guest.
All right.
You have a question. No, with the online polls and all of the noise that Peter Obi has been getting, all the support and all of that, don't you think it's better you, let's just say, collapse your structure and support this bank? Because let's be realistic, with the way these things are going, I really don't see you standing a chance of winning the election. So it's just like a question. I just called to ask if there's any way you can collapse your structure and see how you can support this man. Thank you.
Interesting question.
Known about the election. Nobody knows when win the election until the election is over. So I've heard so many of these comments. You know, their assumption is that some candidate will win the election. Every candidate in this election is a potential winner of the election.
Indeed.
And every supporter is also a potential prophet of a winner of the election. So you hear a lot of prophecies. In fact, there were people who prophesied that Argentina will lose the World Cup. After they won, they are still prophesying. You know, they go back to church next time and said, well, if they had fielded one candidate, or if Argentina has collapsed the structure for Brazil, Brazil would have won. Does it make sense? Because they are in a competition. So I'm in competition against your candidate. You asked me to collapse my structure.
Good. Even if they don't understand it right now, in their subconscious, they are knowing. And I pray that the Lord will help you and help all of us. Thank you. God bless you, my brother. God bless you.
Happy New Year, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you for calling. You have a response to that?
Well, I do this already. I just don't, I don't like being hypocritical. I don't want to be a religious leader. Otherwise, I would have started a church instead of a political party. You get my point?
Yeah.
And it has become very well known that politicians are creative liars. You understand? And that's why I don't want to be called a politician. I hate that nomenclature. So it's like somebody has seen the refugee camp for 4 years. It's known that the refugee camp has been there for 20 years. Never been there before. Election comes, you now go and fetishize being a refugee. Smile, and then you bring some. But that's not going to solve the problem. I went to refugee camps in 2019, and I promise I'm not going back there until we are able to liberate Nigerians to the point that there are no more refugees in the camp. I don't want to be going back to kind of celebrate their misery. The refugee camps also know what politicians are, but they know that every 4 years more rights will come, more attention will be paid to them through politicians. But the same politicians that went to refugee camps will still come and destroy other parts of the country that will create more refugees. Ask yourself, did Buhari not go to the Shiites in 2015? They went to CS Zakizaki. The moment they were comfortably ensconced in power, they massacred over 3,000 of them. Most of them are his voters. I know a guy who was on Facebook. The soldiers were shooting his direction, and he said, I'm a supporter of Buhari, but he's killing me tonight. The soldiers killed him, killed his only daughter and his wife. And they were his supporters. So, if you don't have good intentions, it doesn't matter how long you pretend. I don't want to be a pretender. I don't want to pretend that churches are going to become my only constituents. Because I'm for the entire country. Those who go to church, mosque, and those who don't go anywhere. and those who go to other places. They are all citizens of Nigeria, and we should treat them equally. So, if, for instance, I go to the church on Sunday and they clap for me and they pray for me and they put their hands and shake my brain until it shifts to one side in prayers, what am I going to do? What do you think the churches would think if I go to Kija Shrine? They say, this man is an idolater. He worships
everywhere.
Meanwhile, those guys in those shrines might be better than some pastors. I'm not criticizing religion, but I did it I went to a number of churches. But one of the issues I had in 2019, of course, which I revealed to this, a lot of the churches pastors had a problem with the fact that I refused to kneel down and put their hand on my head. And I asked one of them, can I put my hand on your head before your congregation? He said no. So why would you be putting your hand on my head? Is it that God doesn't understand you until you shake my head? But those things are not necessary. So I am just saying, listen, there are good people out there, good pastors, bad pastors, good Muslims, bad Muslims, or Afars, or whatever they are. But the presidency of the country is not about those people. It's about everybody, including them. Yes.
Let's take more calls then. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is Precious. I'm calling from Delta.
Hello, Precious from Delta State.
I greet your guests, first of all. And there's this question that doesn't reply to social media comments and stuff. So, these allegations that have been put forward on Sowore for a very long time now by his party members and those that, why hasn't he done anything about them? Like, with the missing funds, money donated by supporters for how many years now? The past 4 years. The last election, he put his account number out there. People donated. Even this one now, he started again now. They put allegation out there for him, talking about why he hasn't remitted those funds. He hasn't spoken anything about them. All he does is just go on social media and talk about Peter Obi and Peter Obi again and again. So we want to ask, can he answer the questions they've been asking? People have been asking. I saw something posted on your page on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen the video there. You should check those things and ask him. I want him to answer to those questions. Right. Thank you.
Thanks for calling. I believe you heard the caller.
Yes, it's the fact is that I was the only candidate, and probably the first in the history of Nigeria, that remitted, that explained how I spent all the public donations I got. In 2019, I opened a GoFundMe account and opened a local bank account in Nigeria. And I was announcing on a daily basis. I used to have a show on Facebook every night. And I raised money, and the next I will announce. And when we're done, even though we're still within the 6 month, 1 year period of accounting, I put it out there. You can just Google it and stop, just being mischievous, honestly. You Google it, it's available in public. The Peter Obi is mentioning, Peter Obi, an article contested in 2019. Can you show me the accounting anywhere? If you can show me, I will be happy to invite you and hand you over the bank statements of all the monies I raised. So in 2023, we ensure that we're also raising money transparently. I have published on a monthly basis an accounting or breakdown of all the money I raised.
Where?
It's on today. I just put one on Twitter. You can go to my page, but they will see it. They will ignore it. They will ignore it, and then. But Peter Obi is also raising money. Have you seen an accounting of one single day or month? He's raising money the same way. In fact, I started crowdfunding. They borrow the idea, but they don't do what I do with my own crowdfunding, which is to explain, because this is the way to run as leaders. Transparency is key. Part of what is killing Nigeria is that our leaders hate to be transparent. And some of them are not transparent because they are afraid of criticism, of scrutiny of their transparency. And I don't belong in that category. As of today, go to my page on Twitter, on Facebook, and I'm sure on Instagram. You will see an explanation of the latest monies I raised and how the expenditures were carried out. What else should I be doing beyond that? But your Peter Obi that you are mentioning, has he ever put out a single statement, one line of how much he has raised since he started his campaign and how much he's spending it? And I'm challenging you to get in touch with your members or your group and ask Peter Obi to do the same thing that I'm doing. And you'll be shocked that there's nobody on their side who is willing to explain what they are. Because They have helicopters that they're flying around. They have private jets. They can't explain how they got it. It's special interest money. Special interest money is difficult to explain.
Let's go back to the phone lines.
Yes.
Lagos Talks. Good evening. Lagos Talks. 0809 191 3913, 0809 222 0913, or 0809 234 5913. Remember, you can call the landline numbers as well: 01 515 0913, 01 515 1913. I want to hear from the women as well. I want to hear from ladies. So do call me to join in the conversation. 0809 234 5913. Lagos Talks. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Victor. I'm calling from the mainland.
Your name is?
Victor.
Victor. All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, okay, sure. I just wanted to hear something from you. You said something in passing. I didn't think I got it.
Yes. What is that? Go ahead.
Yes. You mentioned calling for a protest in 1999 or thereabout, revolution now all over 26 states. What protest was that?
1999 or 2019. You didn't know about revolution now in this country?
Not the entrance. Am I?
No, maybe you have not been in the country. Revolution now preceded NSAS.
Okay.
It was August 5 of 2019. Yes.
Thanks for calling. Lagos Talks. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
John. Good evening, sir. My president in meeting.
Thank you very much, and good evening and Happy New Year to you, my brother.
Happy New Year, sir. I want to appreciate you, and I thank you for the answer you gave to the first caller, for standing up for yourself. I like people like you, but unfortunately, you will not be getting my vote this time. But there's a question I want to ask. With this mindset now, going into this election, please, how are you strategizing with your party? I mean, trying to raise people like you from local government, from ward to ward, before 2027. Because by then, I'll be fully supporting you. Because I've listened to you carefully, and I've come to understand that you have love for this country, and you're a patriot. That will be all.
Well, there are ways by which people are raised. Circumstances like Nigeria has found itself creates its own resistant fighters too. And I'm just privileged, and I must say this with humility, that I find myself in the leadership of a resistance movement, or I have found myself in these movements over the years, and having not been tainted. If I was tainted in 1993 when Abiola was contesting, I won't be able to defend myself today. I found myself in situations that would have led to compromises that I reflect. So people will definitely come. When we were doing Revolution now and it was suppressed in August, I predicted to the DSS that NSAS came, and it almost led to an overthrow of the regime. When you go and ask Buhari, he will tell you how scared they were. So this generation will produce a lot of resistant individuals because of the oppressive nature of the state. You mentioned 2020, 2027.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just be humble about it, because we don't know who will be here in 2027. You don't even know if you will be here with the way this country is going in 2027. So you better vote for the right person now so that you can live long. Because some of these guys, if they win in 2023, as you are going to vote for them, you may not, I'm sorry to say, things may not go well enough for you to vote in 2027. You can ask people who promoted Buhari or who voted for him in 2015. Some of them did not make it to this day, including some of his influential cabinet members or kitchen cabinet members. They all died along the way because of the circumstances that they created. Some of them, the chief of staff, for instance, died of COVID Because why? When COVID first started, and everybody was saying, lock your borders, he was traveling around the world, holding meetings, and I forgot that not taking care of Nigeria's border will lead to his own death. I'm not mocking him. But he could have been thinking about 2025. They had already printed T-shirts and face caps for him to be president in 2023. Who knows? Maybe he would have been the APC candidate now. We don't know. But let's just deal with now. Otherwise, I would accuse you of those elders that used to come to Independence Day and tell us that you are the leaders of tomorrow, and we never saw tomorrow.
Let's take more messages here. Here's a message saying, good evening, Miss Michelle. Loving the interview. Please, I want to ask Mr. Sowore if he has a special or personal beef with Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. He talks and attacks him for nothing. I'm not an obedient supporter, but I think you should talk more humble. You sound a little bit arrogant when you talk, sir. That's what he's saying.
When people don't, when people are not subservient in Nigeria, they are seen as arrogant. When you don't genuflect, you are not rolling on the floor for criminals. They'll say you're arrogant. But the people who are really arrogant are those who have nothing to offer, who package themselves as people who can save your country. I don't blame anybody. I respect the oppressed. They've carried a lot of burden in this country. But Martin Luther King said once that if you keep your back straight, nobody can stand on it. I'm just keeping my back straight because they've been standing on it for too long.
Do you have any personal beef with Peter Obi?
No. I have personal beef with anybody who's ever been in government in this country who didn't perform, who failed. And it applies to all the candidates who have been in position before. For instance, I keep saying, if that guy didn't ask me about Obi, I wouldn't have talked about him. But if you come from the Obi angle, I'll answer you. If a Tinubu supporter calls in here and accuses me of something that I didn't do, I'll answer Tinubu and his supporters because they all need clarification. Some of them don't mean evil. They're not trying to denigrate you, but it's some of the brainwashing that has been carried out. They campaign this time around with the hope that people will be afraid. Be afraid of Obi, be afraid of Tinubu, But you don't carry out democracy that way. You don't go around intimidating your fellow citizens. Everybody has a right to be with the candidate they want to be with. And everybody has a right to say the candidate you are following is not going to deliver you. It's freedom of speech. But they believe in freedom of speech, but they don't believe in freedom after speech, which is wrong. It's completely wrong. They want everybody to be subservient. But look at me, 30 years of resistance, you want me to be obedient. How can I obey a system that is wrong? A system of oppression. I've never, ever obeyed a Nigerian system before. I want to change it by way of a revolutionary, disintegration of the system. So I can be obedient. That terminology is enough to even put me off.
You feel offended by it?
No, but if someone asks me to be obedient, then I'll feel offended because it's denigrating.
And if they ask you to be articulate?
Articulate himself. That's what I'm saying. I have challenged all of them. They just pick and choose who to harass, you understand? Because they've gone around and discovered that there are a certain set of people who are difficult to manipulate and harass and intimidate. And they just focus on you and hope that you can collapse. And they can say, okay, we walked over this one just like they did to Father Mbaka, he criticized us, we drove him out of the country, we closed down his church, and they believe in this cancel culture. Oh, we want to cancel you. You don't exist anymore. What is wrong? You can't have that in democracy and get it. If Obi becomes president of Nigeria, are people not going to criticize him? Yes. Obasanjo will write letters 6 months after. He's a letter writer. There's nobody he supported that he didn't go against. I'm just using that as an example. So it is unnecessary and sometimes very childish, by the way, to say that you must submit to a particular individual in an election. I'm not running to become, a subservient person. I'm running to take down a system that makes our people subservient.
Here is a message from Dio saying, good evening, Michelle. I appreciate Mr. Sowore. Unfortunately, Nigerians want votes. Brilliant minds like this, but low-grade minds, hypocrites, agbero breeders, excuse makers, looters, taskmasters, vote buyers into power. Nigerians must make sure that we vote competency, capacity, and not on sentiment or ethnic religious sentiments. We have seen what the APC and PDP has put Nigeria into. Nigerians, please vote with sense. That's Dayo from Fagba. Lagos Talks. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. What's your name? Where are you coming from?
My name is Dr. LaCrown. I'm from New York.
All right, doctor, please go ahead.
Yes, I just want to, I can even start to encourage to for what he's doing. I couldn't find anyone of his courage. So, but one thing I just want to ask your opinion. In the previous election, he did so much of town hall meetings. And I think those town hall meetings actually touched the grassroots individuals. So why is it that this time around, I don't see some town hall meetings that he's doing? So that's my question. But I can't even fathom where he got the courage to continue in this way. Because the people he's trying to lead, even though they know the truth, they just want to go by what is not true for their own personal selfish again. But for this young man to continue to be there, I want to embrace him. But I think if we also adopt what he started before, so many people will buy into it idea. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Lagos Talks. Lagos Talks. Good evening. Hello. Do call back. Here's a message saying, New Year greetings. Can I ask how Omoyele Sowore continues to find the energy to fight for the rights of the citizens? How do you find the energy to stay consistent, regardless of the intimidation that you face?
It's based on conviction, and that's why I don't bother about it. And people don't understand why I'm not bothered. Is that, look, if you've been through so much in life and you've continued to be resistant, some little things will not even catch your attention. And people bother that, why is it that we do this to him and he comes out and he's still strong? We put him in jail, he's still strong. We break his nose, we kill his brother, And some of the things that happened to me over the last few years, if it happened to some people, they will disappear into the underground. They will never say a word again, They will just want to be inside one room, locked up and only eat and wake up and go to the toilet. So that's part of what you see from some of this, caterwauling that goes on. It's like they can't understand why you're principled. Sometimes also they can't understand why you are not corrupt. In a country where people have your influence, right? We just go and become a millionaire overnight, if not billionaire, just selling the little influence you have. They can't believe that you created a major global brand of a newspaper or in the online news, and you're not corrupt, or you've never collected money before from when people who have blogs are living in Banana Island. They can't believe that I don't have a house in Lagos. A judge who was trying me for treason asked me to pay 100 million naira to get my bail. And we went back and asked for a bail variation. Femi Falana said Sowore doesn't have 100 million naira cash to give to federal government. The woman was beefing in the courtroom and said, you mean this Sowore they are talking about? This same Sowore doesn't have 100 million, he doesn't have any friends who can borrow him. We said, no, I'd rather die in prison than give you money I don't have. She couldn't believe it. But eventually when she understood and they asked her to continue with my trial, she said, no, I'm not doing the trial anymore. That's Justice Ojukwu. When she got the full picture of what was driving me, I guess, she refused to continue the trial. But she was still coming back from Calabar to do the trial of Donyo Kukwe, who eventually she convicted of money laundering, whatever it was. So people don't understand this. They don't understand why you find yourself in all these opportunistic places, and you don't take the opportunity to enrich yourself, because that's what they will do. And for a majority of them, they're just a victim of this same brainwashing system. And it works here because if you look at the number of people that fall for religious gimmicks, then you will not be surprised at the number of people that fall for political gimmicks. Yes.
It's all one and the same.
It's the same thing, it's packaged the same way. There's no politician in this country that wants to win an election that doesn't submit to a pastor, even though they don't go to church, or doesn't submit to an imam or an emir. All right? Because they need to deceive people that they believe in God. And then they start doing ungodly things immediately after they leave the palace or the church. And and the pastors are their companions in the business.
Mr. Sowore, I get a lot of message. There's so many messages here that are all saying the same thing.
Yes.
People basically asking or thinking or requiring to please to get you to do other things other than run for office. I don't know why lots of Nigerians are with this impression. People are trying to delegate you into positions that they think you will work perfectly in, like the EFCC, like being a Senate, so many things that people
Before
are saying.
EFCC
Do you not think that you could be also, I understand that of course it's your ambition and you have every right
It's
to
not a
run.
matter of ambition, it's a matter of conviction.
It's a matter of conviction.
Yeah, but also don't forget that this is all planned. When the political when the political class don't have a way around you, intimidated, you try to bribe you, and then they start sending people. They used to do it to us when we were in the university. They go to your parents. Tell your child, if only he could stop following Ganifa with me, he'll be rich. Let him follow Babangida for 1 week and see the difference. Let him, work for Abacha and see the difference. See this person that's working for Abacha. Look at his car. Look at his house. That's it. But where are those people today? All right? So, and you ask them, the ones that are not being used, if your child has a great ambition, you tell them to go for something, to settle for
Something
less.
else? Yeah.
Is that not how Nigeria became what it is today? You're always settling for less. When you have a chance to appoint an incompetent person somewhere, you go and appoint the incompetent and you start shouting why you don't have roads and you don't have water. You are supposed to elect a clean man. You go and elect the dirtiest man that you know. You even admit that he's a lesser thief. Is a thief not a thief anyway? Or that is just, let's just manage him, and when you get halfway into the thing, you start shouting, where is Sowore? Where is Wole Soyinka?
Where are the Sowores?
Exactly. You start insulting our generation. People are still insulting Soyinka, and he's 89 years old. Soyinka held a radio station to ransom with a gun at the age of 20-something. You still want him to come and fight for you in 2023. Anytime a police arrests you, you don't go to your candidate to say, oh, police arrested or somebody shot at me. A woman was killed, right, the other day here, a lawyer. Yeah? Well, I was the first person to intervene, and the other candidate started jumping on it. But the truth is that these are the same candidates who were silent during NSAS. When a girl was killed in Sokoto, Atiku, someone wrote something for Atiku, he deleted it, condemning the mob action. He deleted it because he wanted to ensure that his base, he throws red meat to his base, the religious fanatics that he feels will be offended if he said the truth. But the moment you don't practice that, you call a spade, then you start finding people, most of them sponsors, some of them are just conditioned that way. Because let me tell you, the kind of things that Nigeria does to people in terms of mental condition is the most dangerous. It's the worst. It's worse than every other thing it does to these people. It reduces. Nigeria will make you feel like you are subhuman, and you will accept it. You'll be happy about it that you are subhuman, because it's called mental conditioning. So that's why that popular song by Bob Marley, that redemption, that emancipate yourself from mental slavery, because none but ourselves can free our own mind. It's not only the physical body that is in bondage, as far as Nigeria is concerned. The mind is also in bondage. The brains is that our brains are in bondage. That's what it. And then so there are only a few people who can see beyond that. You want me to be EFCC chairman when I was doing anti-corruption when EFCC hasn't been funded. You understand? Without bragging, I wrote over 5,000 anti-corruption stories on Sowore Report. I was all by myself with help from a few editors since 2006 before I stopped writing. So what is EFCC going to teach me when I'm the one that EFCC is using his document to prosecute people for corruption? All right? So what will I be doing in EFCC?
People are very particular about structure, about track records.
I have all that.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yes.
People are always particular about track records, what you've done in the past. You see,
They are not. I don't think people are particular about track. If anybody is particular about track records, how can you be supporting?
What is wrong? What is wrong with Tinubu?
What is his track record? He was governor of Lagos State, for 8 years. Look at Lagos now. It's the most ghettoized neighborhood in the world. The records are there. That's track record. What about Atiku? He was vice president of this country for 8 years. When ASU had problem, what did they do? They went and awarded themselves, licenses to build universities and abandoned the public universities. Was it not during their period that they were spending money to buy vehicles for their concubines instead of giving scholarship to students through PTDF? Quickly and soon, that a lot of these people that have destroyed us have been around.
Do you not think people can change? Do you not think people can reflect and do better, and be better people, better leaders?
No, they can't. That is why serious countries jail their leaders when they misbehave, because they know they can't change. But they need to teach other people a lesson, not to repeat the same thing.
If you become president, would you jail past leaders? Would you take a look?
No, it's not. Look, when you say you jail, you're sounding like a military man.
I mean, you just made reference
but I
to
will.
other countries
I will
that do
ensure
that.
that. I will ensure that if you took money, you get money back from you, and you face appropriate consequences of denying, the populace what they would have deserved. So, I mean, you've heard about several presidents that were jailed in recent times across the world after they had left power. I can't count how many of them. People in the U.S., a governor was jailed. That was Lagovich. He was governor of Illinois. That was Obama's home state. When Obama left the Senate, his position was vacant, and the governor was only discussing with people that, because he has the right to appoint the next senator without election. He was discussing that. Discussion alone led to 7-year jail term.
Your running mate is Mr. Haruna Garba
Magashi, yes. Yes.
And you guys have been campaigning together. What are your thoughts on the Muslim ticket of the APC? Do you think that matters? Do you think religion has a place in leadership?
Look, they just use religion to manipulate people. I'm looking for competent people, I'm not looking for people of any particular religion.
You don't think Tinubu is competent?
No, I don't believe so. I know he's not competent. It's not I believe, I know that Tinubu is not competent. I've followed Tinubu's, studied him. The so-called, not so-called, but the drug history that was dug out recently and used to speak on his character. I was the first to obtain it in 2008 from Chicago and published it on Sahara Reporter. So I know that. I know what's contained there. I know what he was doing before he came to Lagos. I know what they were doing in exile. So how can I say that such a person is competent to rule Nigeria with such a tainted record of drug addiction, drug involvement? And there's no question. That's why he doesn't want to debate. He can't go out and debate because these questions will haunt him for the rest of his life. And that's what is wrong with Nigeria, that nobody accepts such a flawed character to be flawed to the point that he doesn't defend himself, but it's the people who are his victims that are defending him in this country. It's shameful. But everybody knows this is widely known. What about his financial shenanigans in Lagos? The tax collection, that he's doing that suits his own agenda. What about his involvement, even vaguely, in NSAS killings? The removal of the light there and all the circumstantial evidence and direct evidence that showed that they had a hand in calling the army to quell the NSAS rebellion. Why is it that people are overlooking and thinking that such a person would do that? Or he's even braggadocio recently that he'll remove fuel subsidy and he won't care about public protest. What else do you want him to tell you before you know that he's going to kill you when he becomes president? All of you.
If he becomes.
Yes, if he becomes president. So what else do you want them to tell you? And the records of the parties, his records as a governor, his record before he became governor and after he was governor, what else do you want them to tell you? Or his kind of relationships in this town with, violence. What else do you want them to tell you? And everybody's here. Your concern is the person who can get it right. You want me to be a conformist. But the people who don't get right, who will not do it right for you, you want me to be kowtowing to them. Sure, if you can, I hear people all the time. If you can be less aggressive, as if the system is not aggressive enough against all of us. We are even too tame. In other countries, what they are doing to us in this country would have led to, massive resistance that has never been seen before. If this happened even to U.S. citizens, what leaders are doing here, some of them would have disappeared from the surface of the earth. I don't believe in violence, but I'm realistically explaining to you that our leaders are wicked, vicious, and should not be treated the way we treat them. And that's the only way we can create new leaders. See, the French Revolution, for instance, when it first happened, there was some, mismanagement of the process. The Bourbons came back 100 years later. But they were surprised that the resistance that ended the dynasty was still there 100 years later. That's why revolutions are preferred ways of dealing with criminal elements like this, who we call leaders in this country.
All right. Do you have more time to take more calls before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll be here.
0809-191-3913, 0809-222-0913, or 0809-234-5913. You can also tweet at Lagos Talks 913. That is at Lagos Talks 913. Call the phone lines and send us a message on WhatsApp 0809-234-5913. Lagos Talks. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, ma.
Welcome. What's your name?
Good evening. Good evening, Agoh, Sowore.
How are you? Good evening. Happy New Year.
But the same to you. Agoh, Sowore, I've been looking for you. God has done it. My name is Joy Musa. I know I've been fighting for Omoyele people. I want you to fight for me. I was affected by Boko Haram. We lost 4 children and my husband. I have gunshot in my leg. They have interviewed me, many journalists, many radio stations and television stations. I never hear from government. The only help I'm seeing from good Nigeria, that is where I did 3 times operation up till now. They say I should go back to another operation. To the end that one God is the percentage of my daughter is because I don't have any accommodation. Now until I accommodate me in foundation at the number 1 Adiga. I want you to see me to fight for me as I'm fighting for people. I want you to see me. Government didn't give me anything. I reported the man in charge. I don't want to mention his name.
All right, so maybe you can reach out to him on Twitter. I believe he'll be.
I don't have better phone. I have only talking to. I don't have any better phone.
How about is there a radio? Is there a line here that takes off?
Okay, so what you can do? Hello. What you can do is send us a message on WhatsApp 0809.
Tell my brother. Tell my daughter.
Are you there? Are you there?
Yes.
So the number on WhatsApp is 0809 234 5913. I'll take that again. I'll take the number again. 0809.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're hearing you.
0809
234
59 59
Good afternoon. Number WhatsApp me.
All right, so that's the WhatsApp number. You can send us a message and we will send your number straight to him.
No problem.
All right. Let's take just one last call before we go. Lagos Talks. Good evening. Hello. Oh, so sorry. Hello. Good evening.
Hi. Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry, calling back.
Welcome.
Yeah, sorry.
Please make it very brief because you're calling back. We need to take more new calls.
All right, please. I appreciate that. 2 things. I just want to ask if there's any possible merge, maybe with somebody like there's another contestant like that. I think maybe they have similar ideology. Then number 2, for those people who are believing in the lies of these politicians, saying Sowore does not have experience or does not have track record, the same way they confuse Nigeria about the word revolution. Experience is obtained by either directly observing or directly participating. And nobody has been observant like Sowore in the history of Nigeria that is presently contested. So nobody is having such experience that Sowore has. So people should stop believing the lies of people saying Sowore does not have experience. And coupled with the fact that he has more than enough experience, he has the willpower to really effect the change that will make Nigeria a workable state for every one of us. So people should think twice and check this out. Don't just believe everything people tell you. Go and do your own personal research. When people tell you stop, is it right? Thank you.
All right, thank you for calling Lagos Talks.
Hello. Good evening, Mitchelle.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is I'm calling from Mitchelle. Good evening, Sowore.
Good evening, bro. Happy New Year.
Yes. I want to say kudos to you. Because to be honest with you, you've been a very strong advocate of a good Nigerian. But I want to ask you, sir, how if eventually by February you become the president of Nigeria, how are you going to submerge the Nigerian policy with the Nigerian constitution, and how will you easily work with the Nigerian Senate, which I think that is where much of our problem is. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for calling. Let's take another call and maybe respond collectively to the questions. Lagos Talks, good evening. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, good evening.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
All right, that's not. Lagos Talks, good evening. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you very much. Nice interview. Thank you for having me. Basically, aspiring presidential or candidate. Yes. So, Mr. Sowore, thank you very much because I was laughing when you were giving the explanation. You are a doctor, I would say. Now, what is your, take? Or do you think INEC would do better come 2023? Then, in the grassroots of things, Nigeria has so many things that we weaponize. We talk of religion, we talk of culture and all. Then, talking about hunger infrastructure, people are in the verge of survival mode. What do you think, what are the structures that will help people think in line with all what you are saying? Not to look at the PTOD, the article, and the syllabus, because these three voices have been so loud speaking and it's convincing these people. So, what are your structures to convince people? Thank you very much. You have a good question.
Thank you. Please respond.
Yeah, it's not my goal to put up a superstructure of lies and deception. Mine is to speak straight to the issues, tell people of the urgency of now, and let them know how it is necessary, and overdue for them to take a strong stand this time around. I've always taken a very, very strong stance on issues since I became conscious as an activist and as a citizen of Nigeria who believes in the progress and development of the country. So it is very clear, as we all know, and there's this popular word in the Nigerian music scene, I think it's sung by Burna Boy, which says that if we don't accept last, everybody will get in breakfast, permission to speak broken English. So we'll get our breakfast, but mine is to keep telling you what is true, tell you what I stand for and what I'm about, and the need to share with you my vision for the country, and that I have a mission to make this country work and put liberty on the ballot and fix our country once and for all. Because, till the other side, our opponents, they always make it look difficult to fix Nigeria. That's why so many of them can speak to only a few things. I can speak about everything. I've been here for, I think, over an hour now, and I don't even have in front of me a piece of paper because I understand what the issues are. I have been involved in them. I have participated in every political matter, every environmental issue in this country, every human rights issue, every economic issue. I have been a citizen who lived outside of Nigeria. I've gone to school in Nigeria. I've been a citizen who schooled abroad. I've traveled extensively, but that doesn't make me superior to anybody. What is very important to let people know at this time is that I'm here to serve. And I've presented myself even beyond service. Anybody who can present himself to be slaughtered for his belief is not just an ordinary person. And I hope you guys, when I say you guys, not in a derogatory way, but all of you, so young people, will see this. It will be a tragedy if young people in particular, because I see a lot of conversation around young people and their conscience. It will be a tragedy if you wake up in Nigeria of today and you, as pack of lions, when I say pack of lions, people are actually afraid of the young people of today. You choose a sheep to lead you. Well, good luck to you. Last, everyone will be served breakfast.
Hopefully not.
No.
This is where we leave it today. Big thanks to you for joining us in this conversation and speaking to Nigerians, inspiring them, waking up their minds, and of course using this opportunity to ask them to vote for you. You're of course a strong contender. It's quite clear to see with the many people who are calling to hear from you, to ask questions, whether they are believers or not. What matters is that you've been able to grab their attention, and I'm sure they've learned a lot from you in the course of this conversation. So I want to appreciate you for coming in today and for joining the conversation. We wish you all the best come February 25th, and I'm sure we all have our PVCs, and for those who would love to vote for you, I'm sure they know what exactly to do. Yes. Before I let you go, you have any last words to share before?
Considering that I'll be back here soon, let's keep it open.
All right, fair enough.